Hello and welcome back to another speed build video. My name's Jess and today I'm building in San Sequoia on a 30 by 20 lot, and today's build is of course some pastel townhouses, which I am building because the new for rent pack was just released. I think it's 2 days ago now, but I am having so much fun building for this pack. I have so many ideas and not enough time, and honestly it's making me just fall in love with building in The Sims, which is so nice because I had such a long break. So anyways, for this build, I knew I wanted to do a more colorful building, and I knew I wanted to use arched windows. But I kind of started there and was looking up a lot of inspiration images. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a building or townhouses, whatever. So I ended up seeing a lot of townhouses that were really cute, but they were like from San Francisco, so they were in this really ornate style. And I knew I didn't want to do that for this build, but I ended up finding some pictures from a London townhouse or row of townhouses that were so perfect and exactly what I was kind of going for. So I did put my own spin on it, but that definitely helped give me the direction. So here you can see we have the kind of brick walls, and then the front I kind of was thinking would have been like plastered over with a color. I don't know if that's what you would call it, but like it's smoothed out with the color. And it actually worked out perfectly because we got this pink wallpaper from the for rent pack. So I actually don't know if I would have been able to do this build without it, because it had all the swatches that I needed for each of the builds, the colors I wanted to use. So one is pink, one is yellow, blue, and green. And it just all came together so nicely. I believe this swatch is an exterior swatch, but I don't know if it's supposed to be like concrete or something like that. But anyways, it worked really well for this build, so I'm grateful. And as you can see, I did a little trick with the tool mod to make it look like we had a basement window, but of course I placed it in between the different levels of the house. And usually that wouldn't work because the wall would show through on half of it. But I just scooted the window out with a tool mod and then used the wall piece from the Desert Luxe kit, which it comes in handy for everything. I love that piece. I'm so happy we have it in game. But I think it covers that gap so convincingly, and you wouldn't even like look twice at that being at the wrong level. And I will say there is no basement in this build. I definitely didn't want to do a basement level, but I wanted to have the look like you did. Feel free to add on as you would like. But you can see the exterior really coming together. Now, one thing I'm sure you're asking yourself is why I just have that little window bump out with no roof on it. And that's because I was initially going to put a roof piece on, and I just wanted to save it till the end, because when I've done that in the past where I place it kind of at a different level than the standard first level, second level in The Sims, it's always deleted when I like try and build rooms and put wallpaper on. So I didn't want to have to deal with that. So I'm like, oh, I'll just save it till the end, no problem. But of course, when I went to place it, it didn't work. And I don't know, maybe if you build, you know a trick around this, but when I actually put the roof piece over the half wall, the like roof wall, I guess, would disappear. And I don't think it used to do that. But oh, maybe I used platforms though. That might have been what I did. So I'll have to try it again. But let me know if there's a way to get around that. But I was able to figure something out that I think ended up looking really nice. But of course, this build took me a little while, and it happened right at the end, and I was so done with it. But you'll see what I end up doing. Here, I am doing something a little different for me. And that's actually because I usually do my builds twice. I feel like I talk about this all the time, but if you've never seen my builds, yeah, I usually do the initial build and then I rebuild it while I'm recording. And that's always been because it just saves me time editing, because I take forever to make decisions. It's honestly ridiculous. And I was like, no one will want to watch that. And also, I don't want to edit hours and hours of footage. So I was always like, okay, this is a happy medium for me. It's not too hard to redo a build when you know exactly where everything's going. But it's not super feasible for me at the minute. And I really, really want to be able to share builds. So anyways, long story short, I was able to do this build kind of on the fly, which is super unusual for me. So that's why you see me making a lot of changes here, which normally you would not see me doing, because I'm actually trying out different ideas as they're coming to me. And so I was able to figure out a back of the build that I actually really did like. And here we are starting in on the inside of the build and putting up different wallpapers, trying to find swatches that will work really nicely. And of course, like I mentioned, I'm pretty sure I already mentioned, I use the Pastel Pop kit a ton in this build. And that's one thing about this build is I will warn you, as much as I tried to keep all the swatches the same, so they're in a lighter pink color, that's not super feasible for what we have in The Sims. Like, the tones just don't totally match. So, like, you kind of have to squint sometimes to have it really work. But I still think you get this pink effect. And then in each of the other houses, you get that very, like, blue, yellow. It just hits you in the face, especially when you see, like, the bird's eye view of it, which actually I probably should have done that clip. Which maybe I will. I do have time to do that because I'm doing this voiceover before I've edited this all together. So we'll see if I end up doing it. This voiceover is taking me a while though, which is something that's so funny because then if I've done like a couple different takes, I always forget what I've already talked about. So sorry if I'm a little bit all over the place. This is always my problem. I have the same problems every time. I definitely hope with practice, I'll get better at voiceovers. And what's so funny is the part I struggle with is like the first 5 minutes. But if I get past those 5 minutes, I'm almost always able to get a full take. But oh, it's so crazy how many times I end up starting and stopping. But anyways, so you can see this is kind of what I ended up doing instead of building all of it beforehand. I just grabbed out every piece I could find that I thought maybe would work for the layout of this room. And of course, I forgot to mention, I did make like a little custom fireplace with the console table and the end table from Pastel Pop. And I just used the tool mod, of course. But what's cool about it is actually it will have a little fire. It's not an actual functional fireplace, but I use the coffee table from City Living and I sized that down. So your Sims will actually be able to like light it and you'll get some glow from it. And I think it will have a really cool effect, but you can't see that right now because I was having so many issues with the platforms and items kind of popping up and I didn't want to keep having to move the end table up and down. So I just waited to do that till the end. So I guess, get excited. You'll be able to see its final form in the final shots. But it took me a while to get a layout of this room that I really enjoyed because, as I mentioned, these swatches are so inconsistent. And you can see there is like this more, I kept calling it flamingo pink, that to me just kind of stood out. We don't really have a ton of swatches in that color. And so, yeah, I kind of struggled with that pink in particular, which is the pink of the tile pieces in the room. And that was like my one thing I knew I wanted to build was try and make a sort of fireplace with the Pastel Pop tile pieces. And of course, that was the color I was struggling with so much. But I think I was able to make it work and find the balance of it in between all the different rooms. And what was nice, what I ended up doing was playing with lighting a lot. So if the tones didn't match perfectly, I changed the lighting in almost every room to have a pink hue. And I think that helped make everything blend in just a little bit better. It definitely has a cool effect when you see them all together. But yeah, you can see it's all coming together. And so I kind of had 3 different areas to the living room. We did a kind of garden and record section, which is so cool. We have a record player now. And also like a little library. And of course, that's because the Book Nook kit was something that came out when I wasn't really building. So I am so in love with it, and I will be using it in every build. I feel like I can guarantee that. So I had to find a way to add it into this build. And I really think it works with like the townhouse vibe to have a little library over a door. So yeah, I just really like how that turned out. So we did a little bit of the entryway, and I ended up going with that mirror from Pastel Pop, and I thought that was perfect because it actually has that more flamingo color. So you have enough of it to balance it out in every room. So really happy with that. One of the things that really frustrated me about this kitchen in particular is that I did not like this swatch of the fridge, but I knew this is the one I wanted to use. I kept going back and forth too, off of camera as well. But what I ended up doing, as you can see the lighting coming in handy, was I just put that LED strip that we got with high school years, and I changed it to the pink swatch. And I feel like it kind of makes it a little bit more of the tone I was looking for. So definitely a great trick if you're trying to get specific colors from the different items when they're not exactly right. So here you can see again, I'm messing with the lighting, and it really helps. And the weird thing about this kitchen, which is one of those things about The Sims, sometimes the lighting is just weird, and I couldn't find a way to get this kitchen to look right. The cabinets just look so gray, and they did before I added in the pink lighting, so I kind of don't know what's going on there. I will play around with it a little bit more because it definitely bothers me, but sometimes, you know, it's just The Sims. The lighting is weird in some moments, and it's fine in others, so we'll see what happens. But I still love how this kitchen came out. I'm so happy with it. And of course, if you've ever watched a video of mine, you know I love cluttering up a good kitchen shelf, so I cluttered up some shelves here, and I knew that would be a fun way to showcase all the different swatches of items that we have in the game. So yeah, I tried to pick items that I knew would have swatches that would work in the other houses as well, because I can't remember if I've already mentioned this, but what I did for the other houses was I just built this one house and then I copied it over for the other 3 townhouses, and I just changed the swatches of the different items. And I don't think there was any item I had to fully take out because a swatch wouldn't work. And honestly, if a swatch didn't work, I just went to white, and that worked well for this build, especially because I was changing the lighting, so it kind of took on the tone of whatever color the light was. But I really just love how it came together. And of course I did that in part to save myself some time because it's a lot of work furnishing so many different rooms. And also the way that I build, I like to add a ton of clutter. And so it just takes a minute to do all of that. So I'm just happy with how things ended up working out. And I think this is so cool. And hopefully you can see the kind of sim that would live here. Of course, I was thinking like it would be fun to have like a friend group live in all these different houses. Maybe you can actually use the club feature and get together and have them do some kind of activity on the lot. Though I didn't add a lot of other stuff to do. And that's actually because I wanted to, you'll see at the end, but I wanted to do like a faux farmer's market. I don't know why, it just really felt like that was the vibe of this build. And so filling in that little space that I had left over from these townhouses, I ended up doing that. I don't think anything will be functional, but it's super cute. So sometimes, you know, that's just how you have to build. Just do what is enjoyable for you, and hopefully if you do play in this build, you can feel free to change up what you need to make it work for your gameplay. But that's one thing about doing builds like this, and maybe I did already mention this in this video, but I really, really hope that the person whose sim this build would work for ends up finding this video somehow. Like, I feel like sometimes I build with such specific style that I know there's someone out there that this build would be perfect for. I always hope they end up finding my videos. So if you're out there, I hope you enjoyed it and hopefully it works for your Sims. But what's actually funny is I love building in this style, like these really, really colorful houses. You can see that in some of my past builds. But the funny thing is it's not at all my personal style. I'm definitely more of like a deeper toned kind of autumn colors. And then like more like vintage eclectic style. But what's funny is I have a twin sister and she's actually very much like this kind of style. So much color, so much fun. She has pink hair, so this house would be perfect for her. And I think that's part of what makes building like this fun for me, is I always can kind of think I'm building for her. And it's a great place to start with inspiration of like, if I don't know what to do, I just think about what would she like in this house. And so that's kind of what I went with. And very much this pink house is for you. But I could not figure out a way to make a bed work. There was just no bed with all the swatches I needed. And I was looking at a few different ones. And honestly, like the pastel pinks, horrible options. It was not working. So what I ended up doing was I was like, maybe I can make the wardrobe work. And so I did this checkerboard pattern. I love it. I'm definitely going to be using it in my other builds. I think it's so cool. And you'll see with the rug from Pastel Pop, it is just too perfect. I can't get over how good this looks. In my opinion, this is very much, I can understand why this wouldn't be someone's style. But I really like how it came together. And what was funny there is you saw me, I started moving around the pieces so the colors lined up. And then I remembered you can just change the swatches so I wouldn't have to do all that finicky kind of work. But anyways, I was just laughing at myself when I remembered that I could just do that. Very simple, simple fix, but sometimes I make things more complicated for myself. And it's also funny because I'll rely on the tool mod when I don't need to do it, but I'm just so used to using it that I won't always think about it. I'll just move stuff with it and then be like, oh, didn't even have to turn that on. But anyways, here's another example of why I love that piece from the Desert Luxe kit. It works well as a little bathroom shelf because there was no space on that particular sink to even put soap. So I just used that to add in just a few items. So there's a little bit of pizzazz in the bathroom. Always trying to add a little bit of character to each of my builds. So this is the last room and it's just the office. And I wanted to leave some space for you to sort of put in what you wanted to. So in this couch area, I'm hoping you'll be able to kind of add in skill building items, different things that you might want for your Sims that work for your gameplay. So hopefully, or you can enjoy that little couch moment. I think it's very cute. So yeah, hopefully that this room is kind of more versatile. And of course you could make it into a kid's room or something like that if you would like. But yeah, it all came together really nicely. And what's so interesting to me is the base game actually came in really handy for some of the pastel pieces that I needed. So like this rug from base game, I hardly ever reach for, but it was so perfect and it had every swatch I needed. So it's just kind of funny how you end up discovering all these pieces as you're going through. And definitely it took me a lot longer to do the first floor than the second. And part of that, I think, was I just had an idea of the items that we had in game because I was looking so much through I searched by color and just looked at every pink item we had. And so I kind of knew what I wanted to go with by the time I got up to this level. And actually, as I'm watching this back, I completely forgot that I placed these here and I have to change those swatches in the other houses. So I'll be sure to do that. But yeah, so you can see I sized down this bookshelf because it's huge. So I think it just looks a little bit better when it's smaller. But that meant that each of the slots were kind of messed up. So had to place everything by tool mod and it worked out just fine. And I really like the effect of it. And I was able to use the little storage box from, oh my gosh, Growing Together. And I think that's just like a cute little thing because I'm still trying to remember the new items that we have. So yeah, I was able to get that right. So here you can see me looking through everything in the house to make sure everything was placed correctly because I knew I'd be copying this over at this point. And I think I do show some of it. Oh, and here you can see I'm prepping to start copying things over. So sorry, that was a long clip. I definitely didn't mean to keep in there. But I thought I would have you see some of it. And now I'm looking back, I also placed the wrong fence there. So I'll fix that too. But oh my gosh, if you are a builder and you are planning to do this, do not use platforms. Wait to use platforms because everything got messed up. So you can see we've jumped to me placing everything and I'm doing a bit of fixing, but I had to do so much off camera. This took me so much longer. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to save me so much time if I just copy things over and change swatches, but it just got so messed up. And here you can actually see that the fireplace a little bit better. And also just a little tip, if you don't know the tool mod at all, but you build, or you do use the tool mod and you don't know, there is a tab or like a little switch you can turn on called deletion protection mode. And as you can see here and there, some things are being highlighted yellow. And those things would normally get deleted if you change like a wall swatch, but with that checked on, it won't delete it. So it's really, really helpful if you're using the tool mod a lot. So needless to say, I have it on while I'm changing things up. And that's also why I was just getting that dialogue, which says system error, because I'm trying to delete something, but the mod is stopping me from being able to do that. So anyways, here's the yellow house, and yellow is my favorite color. So I had a lot of fun doing this particular house, but I wanted to see you kind of see the transformation as I was changing all the different swatches to the yellow color and kind of how I made decisions and all of that. I thought it would be fun for you to see one, but the other two I do off camera. But again, I'm changing the lighting and it definitely has a major effect of just changing the whole vibe of the build. And I really, really love how this turned out. The yellow house is obviously my favorite. I think that isn't a surprise to anybody. But I really, really think it turned out so cute. And honestly, it was very satisfying to see all the swatches come together. And a couple of them, actually the greenhouse in particular, was a little bit more of a struggle. We have less pastel green swatches. So anyways, we finished that and I really, really love how it turned out. And here I'm just doing some minimal landscaping. Obviously, this is a city build, so there isn't a ton that I needed to do to make this blend in, but I was making some decisions on the fly and went a little bit back and forth with what I put down. But I knew I wanted this little like curb section to have some landscaping. And this is the area that I put in the faux farmer's market, I guess you could say. And you'll see that in just a little bit. So of course I had to add some trees, and these are my favorite trees if you're wondering from Get Together. And what I found out is we actually have those, I'm not sure actually what they're called, but the little like tree protectors. There's one in base game that I always use, but Get Together actually has one, and it's a little more narrow, the base of it. I think it looks so much better. So just a little hot tip if you are building a city build. I think it looks great. But yeah, so I'm just adding in a few items here and there to make it look a little bit like it sits into the world. And I will say, obviously, those streetlights pointing out to the water, it's a little odd, but I wanted to have the lighting back there, so I went with it. So here you can see me struggling with the roofs, and this was definitely a struggle. I did so much of this off camera, but so I wanted to kind of show you what I ended up doing, which was raising up the walls and then just adding in these pieces from the Desert Luxe kit to kind of make it a more robust like molding around there. And then I used a little fence piece from base game to get that line on the sides. Then I used a canvas and put it at an angle to cover up the roof that was showing. And then I just cover it up with a shelf and put in some of those like ivy vines from Blooming Rooms, and that was able to cover it up really nicely. But that actually means we're coming to the end of this build. So I want to say thank you so much for watching. It means so much to me that people support my random builds that I do on YouTube, and I really love sharing this with you, sharing my whole process, my creativity. It's so cool that people love The Sims like I love The Sims. And it's really cool to be able to share all of this. So here we're getting into the last little bit, which is as I said, the farmer's market kind of area. And so I knew I wanted to add in this little coffee stand from Eco Lifestyle, but I don't think it will be functional. I also added in the stall from Eco Lifestyle. You can see, I tried to make it look like a farmer's market. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great holiday season, enjoying this time of year wherever you are, and please let me know how you're enjoying this new pack and if you have any ideas for me. But I will say once again, I have 30 seconds left. I actually can look at that. I never actually look at the time. So I hope you have fun stuff planned. It's the weekend for me, so I'm ready to relax and just enjoy my weekend. But I hope you have a good day, a good morning, whatever the time it is for you. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.